And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion. We will take a look at what is going on in the world today, take a look at the news, have a little dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you happen to be listening somewhere else and you wanted to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, Coffee Talk and Prepper University, at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. As we get ready to jump off, no felines in the room today. No felines in the room today. Sorry, I am sans cats for the moment, but you never know when they may pop in on me here. And I do, of course, try to read through as many of the comments as is reasonable for the benefit of those of you who are listening and not able to see, so that you can keep up with the conversation. And I'll say hello to some of the people that have chimed in so far. I see Helter's joining us here today, as well as Dragon. Donna, who reminds people, thumbs up, like, and share. Yes, please do. I need all the help I can get. Chillin' Dave is here, as well as Kimberly, joining us so far this afternoon. It's afternoon where I am. That may be a different story wherever you happen to be. Fluke Man is here. And I'll just pick up where I left off yesterday. There was a news story from yesterday that I had just gotten into, that I was making some points about. And I see Sven has joined us as well. Glad you could make it today. I just got into this right as we were closing out. And so I can go ahead and hit it again. And it's a local news story. And it has to do with a walkout. And Daniel is here. It says, rescued 2 kittens yesterday. Excellent. Oh, and Miss Kitty is now in the room and playing with the fish, which is rare. She rarely ever plays with anything. And I'm sure that Granny Smith wouldn't be happy if she saw this, because Granny Smith thinks she owns that fish and gets pissed off at anyone who touches it. That is very rare for Miss Kitty. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Go on, you're fine. That is a very rare moment for her. And I see Rodney is here. Anyway, congratulations, Daniel. Glad to hear that you were able to rescue 2 kittens. I'm trying to get some more taken care of myself. I've got 6 kittens that need to be moved. 6 kittens that need to be moved currently. But getting into the news story from yesterday, just following up my point, and then we'll move on here. What at the time, if it opens up, anytime Restream, let's get going here. And this is a WSB TV News 2 article, local. Am I still here? Here we go. That was slow. Thousands of students across, and that's Cobb County. Thousands of Georgia students took part in a statewide school walkout Friday. I hate that kind of stuff because there's nothing organic about it. There's nothing organic about this. This was prearranged. They had signs. Let me close that because it's so hopefully everybody can still see and hear me clearly, because Restream was acting up a lot just now. But there's nothing organic about that kind of stuff. They make these students do these sorts of things. They manipulate students. The school department manipulates students. The local politicians manipulate students. And they set this up, and the kids are too dumb to realize they're being used. And I see Dilo has joined us. They're too dumb to see that they're being used. And the Jericho thinks it must have been for a grade. It could have been. Hell, it's an excuse to get out of the classroom. And it makes me think of when I was in junior high school. And this is right when computers were first coming into the public schools, okay? And it was an Apple computer. And Apple had a contract with the public school system. And so, again, this is junior high school. They march us, just to give an example of the manipulation. It's been going on forever. They march us to this computer room, okay? They open the door is locked, right? Open the door, and inside the room is a cage. And inside the cage are the computers, like about 20 of them at a desk. And they marched us in there, sat us down at the computers. The computers were not on, okay? And it was an Apple computer, and it had been branded. The monitor and the case had been branded with literally with a brand. It was melted into the plastic, Boston Public Schools. All right. And sit down at the computers. Now act like you're using them. And they took a couple of photographs from the front of the room, because if you took a picture from the back of the room, you'd see the computers weren't even on. Marched us out of the room and never opened that door again. We never used those computers. Nobody did. Gary is here, as well as Brian, and Jane is here. Jane, you might have just got in here early enough to see Miss Kitty playing with that fish. H12 is here. And Jericho says, if that's the case, it solidifies our theory that they are indeed indoctrinating them. Of course. They're training them to be afraid of the tool. The tool's not the problem. This is their own classmates doing these things. What's wrong with these people should be the question, not, oh, I'm scared of a weapon. And Brian says the computers were not on. No one ever went in there again. I remember that video. Yeah, it was that door. If the door, I swear, it was like a 3-inch wooden door. It's like a 3-inch wooden door. Yeah, Jane. She's still sitting over there. She's not playing with it anymore, but Miss Kitty's still sitting there. One of those rare moments that she actually decides to play with something instead of just being angry. But, they have a solution. Anyway, I'm just making the point about how they use children for political reasons. I've also mentioned before about that happened to my youngest son, where they brought him to the Capitol building. Oh, it was a field trip. Let's go to the Capitol building, Topeka, Kansas. This was in Topeka, Kansas. All right. And the governor's here. You want to meet the governor? Like these kids, a bunch of kids who are not even 10, 11 years old yet give a damn about the governor or know who it is or care what that means. And they stand all around his desk and they take a group photo. And it was for a photo op so that he could sign some paper and, act like he's taking care of the children. They use and manipulate these kids all the time, is my point. And they're using and manipulating them here. Panic about a staged walkout in a public school, especially on a Friday afternoon when they're going home probably early anyways. They used it. But here's your solution, and this is still WSB TV. Gwinnett County is going to install AI weapons detectors at high school stadiums amidst security concerns. Weapons detection systems are set to arrive at Gwinnett County High School football stadiums this week. As the district steps up security measures, parents have been pushing the district to add metal detectors to school campuses. Multiple online petitions emerged after the Appalachia High School shooting, urging more security. For now, the weapons detectors will be deployed at football stadiums, with further campus security still under consideration. Question: has there been an incident at a stadium anywhere? Is there has there been an incident in a stadium, or is it just in the school hallways or something? You know what I mean? I haven't heard of anything happening in the stadium unless they're testing it there. And quite frankly, pretty much every, at least in recent memory, any of those situations could have been avoided. The very last one that they were just talking about at the Appalachian High School, the mother called the school, and the guidance counselor putted around for a half an hour looking for the kid instead of calling school security. There are school police on the campus. That's what they're there for. Putted around looking for him. The whole thing could have been avoided. Metal detectors weren't going to help that. Brian suggests the only thing those kids are worried about is their acne. No kidding. And again, they forget when we were kids. It's funny, these adults, they don't want to remember what they were like when they were kids and when they were stupid and ignorant and mean. And you think this is making this generation any better? Jane says, why using AY detectors? What about trained German Shepherd dogs who can sniff gunpowder and whatever? I don't know. Because they want to force AI into everything. And Dragon says it's an illusion of freedom, safety, and security. Those AI detectors will do little to curb violence. They won't protect the teachers and students from Jack. Yeah. And remember, the more they cry about safety, protection, and safety, the Bible talks about that, never to trust those people. And I see Justin Case has joined us. And I'm starting to get Democrat mail again. I've talked about this before, where for the first time ever, really, I've gotten Republican mail for an election in the last few weeks for the upcoming presidential election. I've never gotten Republican mail before. It's always Democrat mail. It's tons and tons of it, especially in Georgia. They bury you in mail. Okay. I'm starting to get the Democrat mail again. This stuff. Look, Project 2025, the real Trump plan for Black America. That's right, Black America. It's the Trump plan for Black America. And I'm like, what does that mean? And you read the flyer here, okay? It says, what is Project 2025? Project 25 is Trump's agenda to give himself unchecked political power. You mean like signing executive orders indiscriminately, like Biden did? With no guardrails to stop him from destroying our communities. And it goes on to say the 2025 agenda would gut Social Security and Medicare, something that Trump already said he wasn't going to do. Eliminate the Department of Education. Actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea because it's been a disaster. Let states ban African American history classes. I mean, is there really a ban? Could there be? Abolish Head Start. That might not be a bad idea either, because Head Start is a zoo. You may as well take your kids to some guy who's got a cage in his basement and lock them up for the day. End student loan forgiveness. Student loan forgiveness never should have occurred in the first place. Rip away health care for millions by repealing Obamacare. Obamacare doesn't work. Have we figured this out yet, that the so-called Affordable Health Care Act doesn't work? Strip away our voting rights and criminalize the voting process. How? Banning abortion nationwide. They already got rid of Roe versus Wade, and all Trump had to say about it was, I think states should decide. People should actually be able to vote on it, and the government shouldn't be able to tell people what to do. I actually agree with that. Never mind the fact that, and then it says, check the facts. Why don't we check and see if Project 2025 is actually from Trump? And the answer is no. It's not. His system is Agenda 47, which is on his website and is not like this at all. Gary Edwards says we have the technology to educate children in their own home through Zoom. Why send kids to buildings that are safe, that are soft targets? And Jane says, I wonder if electricity goes out, then no AI detector. No. Rodney says, authorities never let a tragedy go unexploited. That's true. That is true. Helter says, typical of public schools, they won't solve the problem, but they will buy a snake oil solution with your tax money. And Jane says, has anyone been warned that truckers and dock workers are going on strike soon? Less food in grocery stores. I have not heard that. And Tuck is here. Glad you could make it today. And Gary says people with kids should live in fortified communities with controlled access 24/7. Anything else is too risky nowadays. Is it really? Is it really too risky? Speaking of risky business. Speaking of risky business, I'll give one more here from Monkey. He says, at the Republican ones that I've last seen, you got in at least creative as hell, unlike the voided of life Democrat ones. But yeah, this is their only talking point, really, and it's not even the truth. I mean, he's even gone so far as to publicly denounce Project 2025 several times, and it comes from an organization he's not even connected to. He's not even connected to it, and he's like, "No, Agenda 47, that's mine. It's on my website. Go look at it." You can go to his website and look at it. It's there. All the bullet points are there. But this is what they push, and it's a lie. It's a lie. And it gets worse. Actually, hold on. Let me pull this up because they're texting me now, too. Democrat Party is texting me. Let me see if I can find this real quick, and I'll show it to you. And I'll read it. Okay. There it is. This is the text message from the Democratic Party. Hi, David. In Georgia, we cherish our freedoms. But convicted felon Trump and MAGA Republicans want to end our abortion rights, our civil rights, and LGBT rights. Fight back. Register to vote for Democrats up and down the ballot who will protect all our freedoms. Oh, really? Really? You don't have to sell it to me to want to vote Republican if I do. I mean, oh my God. I don't want to hear about alphabet mafia rights. I don't want to hear about civil rights. Okay. I don't want, because that's just a way to divide people further at this point. I don't want to hear about convicted felon Trump. Is he sitting in jail? Is he ever going to go to jail? No. Why? Because you made it up to get him in trouble in the first place. End our abortion rights. I don't have abortion rights. I don't have abortion rights. If I was with a woman and she got pregnant and wanted to abort a baby, I can't do anything about it, no matter how badly I wanted that child. I have no rights, period, in that area. And again, I agree with the idea that states should allow its citizens to individually vote per state whether or not they want that. And when they got rid of Roe versus Wade and they did that, states were voting it down because guess what? Most people don't want this. But yeah, they're texting me now too. Thank you, DMV. Monkey says on their phone, those text messages for the Dems and the Trump ones are automatically marked as spam and won't be displayed. And Kimberly's got to go. Well, glad you could drop in. Gary says between public school indoctrination, drug gangs, homeless addicts, needle trash, immigrant crime, etc., children belong in safer communities. Yeah, or you gotta, well, you know what? Actually do the job, parenting. That's part of the problem. That's part of the problem, unfortunately. But as I was saying, speaking of risky business, I just wanted to throw this up there really quick because I thought this was interesting. And this is an independent article. Usher, the singer, claims his ex account was hacked and his tweets were deleted after Diddy was arrested. Really? Because it was an interesting coincidence. A bunch of these guys, their Twitter accounts disappeared after Combs was arrested. When he was arrested, including Usher, a whole bunch of them, their Twitter accounts just vanished. Now Usher is claiming it was hacked. R&B singer Usher has spoken out as hundreds of his ex-Twitter posts disappeared after Sean Diddy Combs was arrested. On Sunday, the 22nd, tweets on the Yeah singer's account disappeared before he regained control of the account and told fans he had been hacked. Account got hacked and damn y'all ran with it, he said. See you tonight at Intuit Dome. I don't know what that is. It caused some fans to comment on the timing of his tweets being deleted since it coincided with the arrest of Usher, his close friend of 30 years, the rapper Diddy. Yeah, that is a big coincidence, don't you think? Last week, Combs was arrested and charged with federal racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution charges. He appeared in Manhattan federal court to plead not guilty. Federal prosecution alleged Combs threatened and abused women to fulfill sexual desires by forcing them to engage in recorded sexual activity, which he referred to as freak-offs. That's what he called the parties. But yeah, a bunch of people's accounts disappeared or had things removed suddenly. Just in case says, same as with Pink, her tweets were deleted. Seems suspect. Yep. And then Monkey said hacked. Come on, that's the oldest saying ever since the internet was a thing for the public. I find it hard to believe that people with that type of, with their own personal security force, that anything of theirs can get hacked. And Rodney says, whatever, Usher clearly needed time to delete all of his Twitter posts supporting Combs. Helter says, why is anyone surprised? We've all known that almost all of them engage in lewd activities. Our politicians, too. And age 12 suggests children belong at home with mom, but you can't keep them there forever. You can't keep mom at home either. That's the problem. Oh, they have a career. I'm a career woman now. I don't want to fit the common housewife stereotype. And Dental is here. Says, been about a week since I caught a live. Just wanted to say howdy and keep up the good work. I appreciate that. I try. I'm preaching to the choir here, but I try. So, and I've seen the list. I've seen the list of people that attended these parties. And I remember when Cat Williams had his interview some months ago and said that he was warned, don't ever go to one of Diddy's parties. And if you do end up there, don't be there past 11 o'clock, I think he said, or else you won't believe what happens. And he doesn't, he talked about that. And the people that are on that list, Oprah Winfrey, T.D. Jakes, Beyonce, these huge names that attended that party. And you can hear the argument, of course. Well, they're consenting adults. They're consenting adults. Okay. But there were people there that were either drugged or coerced into participation. So were you aware of that? And then how guilty are you by association? That's where the Aesop's fable of birds of a feather comes into play. The stork and the crows. Oh, I wasn't doing anything to your field. That was the crows. Yeah, but you're here. And you know these crows. You're as guilty as they are as far as the farmer's concerned. That's a lot to think about. Well, I just think it's an interesting coincidence that suddenly things are being deleted. Oh, it was hacked. Sure you were. And Dragon says purging the X account is useless. Elon can still access the account activity. That's possible. JJ is here. It says Oprah's probably the reason why Diddy had so much. Oh no. Yeah, over 1,000 bottles of lube and baby oil, 750 plus dildos, and studio recording equipment, video. And Jane says on X it shows pictures of what looks like thousands of sex toys in huge barrels with SWAT teams going through Diddy's home. And Brian suggested screw tubes deleting comments again. Doesn't surprise me. Here's another massive coincidence for you. Another massive coincidence. I think this is really interesting, and I'm going to put on the foil hat for this one. Okay. Fox News article. Son of suspected would-be Trump assassin arrested on inappropriate child photos and video, shall we say? Because I don't want to read that too much. If you get what I'm saying. So the boy, and this is the son, who apparently is 35, it says. I thought he was 25. I thought he was 25. The article says 35. I don't know which is correct. All right. But now it says, son of would-be Trump assassin Ryan Ruth taken into custody on federal charges of possession of inappropriate child material. Authorities seized multiple electronic devices from 35-year-old Orrin Alexander Ruth's home in Greensboro, North Carolina, Saturday, that investigators say contained hundreds of files with exploitive child material. The illicit material was discovered during a search conducted in connection with an investigation unrelated to child exploitation, according to the criminal complaint. Ruth has been charged with receipt of said material and possession of said material. And they were there because his father, Ryan Ruth, 58, was arrested for an attempted assassination against Trump, right? So now they go to the son's house and search it, and oh, look, we found all of this child material. Okay. Jane suggests the shooter's insane, so is his son. I'm going to put the foil hat on for this one. Okay. Just for a minute, I'm just going to speculate. I'm going to speculate on something. Now, for all intents and purposes, the media is trying to make Dad sound like he's crazy. But if you really look at it, Dad kind of looks like a freelance mercenary. All right. Here's a guy who has felony convictions for firearms and explosives possessions. Okay. He's a no-fly, but manages somehow to get back and forth across the country to Hawaii and back and forth to the Ukraine. He shouldn't even have a passport if he has felony convictions for illegal possession of fully automatic weapons or explosives, improvised explosives, which he's gone to jail for. How's he getting back and forth to the Ukraine? How's he getting back and forth to Hawaii? How's he zigzagging across the country with no income, by the way, and no assets and no money in the bank, that he apparently was following Trump around for weeks before he was caught? And Helter's kind of figured out where I'm going here. He says, I wouldn't be surprised if the authorities planted false evidence. Okay? And that's where I'm going with this. What if he's sitting in jail? Because when he went to his hearing, Ryan went to his hearing, the dad, he was real calm. Hell, he was even smiling. He was having a great conversation with the attorney. He wasn't worried. Maybe things aren't going the way he was told they would. And then they were like, oh, well, you think you're going to talk? Funny. Your son was just arrested. Your son was just arrested. Would be terrible if something happened to him, a little in the chow line, as Saul would suggest on Breaking Bad. You sure you don't want a little in the chow line to be cheaper? And I believe it was called the Unicorn system that was tested in the UK. This is what pops into my head. The Unicorn system in the UK, right? I think it was the Unicorn system. I might be wrong. And what it was that they could hover a drone way up above your home. And that drone would hijack your Wi-Fi. Not receiving your Wi-Fi, but it would act as an antenna so that the Wi-Fi would go through the drone into your house. So it would get between your Wi-Fi connection coming from outside to your home, right? And through that, they could implant things into phone, laptop, computer, whatever, and you wouldn't even know it. How do I know they found anything in this guy's computer? How do I know they didn't stick it in there? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Ryan, you feel like talking now? You still want to blab? You still want to tell us who paid you? You still want to tell the court who hired you? Are you sure about that? You sure you wouldn't rather Epstein yourself? And Jane says, I saw the shooter with the chef at the White House in a picture. Yeah, that's right. Well, he's not a chef at the White House. He has a different position, but he is a professional chef. But he was photographed with that guy in the Ukraine, I believe. And I just think, wow, what an amazing coincidence. That's scary, man, because it's like you got to wonder. They could plant anybody. I mean, cops have been planting evidence on people for decades. They've been planting evidence on people as far back as it goes. And it really boils down to how far are you willing to go to plant evidence, and for what reasons. I wouldn't put it past certain three-letter agencies to have the capacity to do something like that. That's scary. That's really scary. And, then again, it could be legitimate. It could be completely legitimate. But, I'm just theorizing for the sake of argument. Because I like to think about different scenarios with things, especially with some of these stories. There's so many different ways, directions that they could go in for the truth. And you never know. You may never find out the truth. You may never find out the truth. And that's unfortunate, isn't it? That's unfortunate. Back to the Haitian agenda. And this one strikes me, and this is going to be a Center Square article. All right? Center Square article. And I think about the Haitians a lot, and I've explained why. And I'll mention it again for anybody who hasn't heard it before. Center Square says it's not just Springfield. Haitians are being flown to small towns nationwide. That is true. Haitians are not just arriving in Springfield, Ohio, but also in small rural towns nationwide as a result of several Biden-Harris administration policies since the fiscal year of 2021. That is the start of the Biden-Harris administration. More than 485,000 Haitian illegal border crossers, a record, have been reported by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. The overwhelming majority were reported this fiscal year, nearly 216,000, compared to 48,000 and change in 2021. Since 2021 through August, that is this August, the majority have been apprehended at the southwest border of nearly 262,000, followed by nearly 221,000 nationwide and another 2,300 at the northern border. Additionally, since July, 205,000 Haitians have been released through the CHNV parole program. Of the more than 765,000 illegal foreign nationals released into the country through CBP, one app, the top nationality is Haitians. Through these programs, U.S. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas also extended temporary permanent status to them and granted them work authorization. Oh, isn't that nice of them? All of these programs are illegal, according to state attorney generals who've sued to stop them. And that's the argument being made by U.S. House Republicans, who also cited them among the many illegal actions Mayorkas which caused them to impeach him. Mayorkas has since only expanded the programs. Fascinating. When responding to the Haitian influx, local officials claim Haitians are there to work and are contributing to society despite claims by residents to the contrary. Well, who are you going to believe? A lawmaker who signed a contract to bring them in, or the people that actually got to live down there? Monkey says using the sun as a bargaining chip so he can talk. Yeah. Jericho says it's like back in the 70s or 60s or even further back when the CIA or NSA would river through neighborhoods in vans with advanced microphones listening to, oh, it jumped way up here, listening to people's houses, and things were really shady back then and people will not talk about it. Gary says possibly importing Haitian voters at the last minute. Wow. And Jericho says their mother would tell him that her dad was in the Vietnam War and new agents were watching him and her when she was a teen. Helter says whoever made the decision to dump that many refugees in this country knew very well the hardships they would create for the people in this country. And it's caused a lot of problems. It's caused a lot of problems, and we can see it. And again, the reason why this situation in particular resonates with me is because I grew up around Haitians, because there was a lot of them that were allowed into the country in the 70s. A ton of them came into the country in the 70s, Haitian immigrants and Russian immigrants. And again, I grew up on a housing project. It wasn't a bad one. It wasn't like good times, or stuff like that, things that you would expect. It was the housing development that I was in was geared more towards the elderly or people with physical disabilities. So I was fortunate in that regard, because it could have been a lot worse. And it's a long stretch of connected buildings. But on the one side was two buildings that were loaded with Haitian immigrants. And man, those buildings were destroyed. And they caused a lot of mayhem in that area. And then, a lot of Russian immigrants came in. There was a bunch of Cubans too. But, you didn't see too many problems from them. And you saw them working in the area, working in the community. So you didn't worry about that so much, I guess. And the Russians worked too. They had jobs. The Haitians, I don't know what was going on. But I'm like, didn't we learn our lesson the first time around with this? Dragon wants to send them to Delaware, the state that sent and kept sending Biden to Congress. Share the joy. No kidding. And JJ says, why is it our government can't take good care of Americans that need it, but give everything to illegals? They're sowing dissent. They're creating division. If we're divided, we can't unite and we can't fight them or their policies or anything else that they want to do. How many times do you see the American people rolling over for whatever the hell comes down the pipe? Look what happened during the pandemic with the C virus and the mask mandates and the jab mandates and everything else. A lot of people fell in line with that pretty easy. They didn't even try to fight it. And they knew something was wrong. And still is. Rodney says, checking on a private tab, I can confirm ScrewTube is silently deleting comments. I can see them on the logged in window, but they're not visible to anyone else. I don't know what to tell you about that. I wish I could control that. I apologize. It's not something that I can do anything with. Now, something I wanted to get back to from yesterday also. Yesterday I told the story about the yard sale and the flags. And something else that happened this weekend that I wanted to touch on was Sunday. Now, Sunday was our anniversary, my wife and I. It was our anniversary Sunday. And we went, she wanted to go to Hibachi. She likes hibachi grills. Okay. And so we went to a hibachi, and man, it was packed because it was Sunday. Okay. And it's hard to be anywhere and not start making observations about just people's overall behavior. And she was actually the first one to do it. Now, this place, again, it was packed. Tokyo something or other. They're all called Tokyo something. So you got the big sushi room, and then you've got the hibachi room. And the hibachi room has 4 double tables. Okay, so 8 hibachi stations with 10 seats around each, and it was full. So 80 patrons, 80 restaurant goers in there, and 8 hibachi cooks, right? And Gary says, happy anniversary. Thank you, Gary. We've been married 12 years. 12 years. And she says, she leans into me and she says, hey, you're the only white man in the building. And she was right. I looked around. I was the only, and of course, this is suburb of Atlanta. So, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there's a large black population in the Atlanta area. And I am literally the only white man in the building. And there's 2 other white people, but they're both females. And the one female is sitting with a Hispanic guy and 3 kids. And they're the only Spanish people that are restaurant goers. The rest are, and I put that up there from Dental. You can read it. It's about the chat filters. Everyone else in the room is black. The staff is a mixture of Asians and people from South America. Most of the hibachi cooks, they look like they're from Ecuador or something. Okay. And what I noticed that I thought was really interesting was nobody was paying attention. Because, you go to Hibachi Grill. You go to a Hibachi Grill. You go there for the show. It's dinner and a show. The guy's going to juggle the eggs. And he's going to juggle the knives. And he's going to play tricks. And he's going to do the little flame volcano thing with the sliced onions. None of that's happening. They're just cooking the food. They're just cooking the food because nobody's watching them anyways. Everybody's like this. You get a hibachi restaurant full of people staring at their damn phone, which my wife and I, we put our phones away if we go to a restaurant. We don't touch the phone. That's a rule. A lot of them, the phone is laying flat on the table, and they've conformed to it. So they're sitting like this. I'll show you from the side. Their heads are just drooped way over, hung like this, staring straight down at the phone on the table. Like they can't move their eyes down to look at it if they had to. Their heads are just bowed down. Worship the phone, right? The woman who's sitting right next to me on the right side, she's staring at the phone, and I'm glancing at it to see what she's looking at. It's ads. There's not even anything to look at yet. You're watching ads. And it's noisy in the room, okay? Real noisy because it's hard even to hear. But what you're listening to is the tinniness of all the speakers from the electronic devices. There's very little in the way of actual conversation going on. Like, good Lord, like 3/4 of the people in here are staring at a damn phone. Why did you come to a hibachi restaurant? So you can stare at your phone. Go to Burger King. Go to freaking Burger King. Rodney says smartphones are not good for us. True. Also, they're freaking spy devices for Google and Apple. That's why you see a lot of people, they get that on the back of their neck, like right here. It looks like they've got half a grapefruit from their heads being bent like that all the time. It's disgusting. And JJ says, should the Borg arrive, they won't need to assimilate anyone. It's already happened. Exactly. But I'm like, no dinner and a show. No one's paying attention anyway. And then the ones that are paying attention are bitching, whining. The three women that are on the side of my wife going this way complain about everything. I thought the guy was going to blow a gasket. You could see he was starting to get upset. You could see him turning red. He was getting upset. You putting too much pepper on that. You need to scratch that grill down again. You need to do this. Oh, I didn't know to use putting broccoli in that. Can you pick the broccoli out of mine before you give me my vegetables? I'm serious. Like, bitch, pick out your own broccoli. Why are you here? What the hell, man? And he was upset. He was upset. Poor guy. And I also noticed the number 6 tattoo on his neck. Hopefully he's not living that life anymore. Country says, we went to a hibachi grill recently engaging with the chef, but he still didn't do any real show, just the volcano. We used to get a good show. Yeah. And Sven says, I killed my TikTok. Good grief, what a waste. And Dragon says, agreed on date nights. Me and my girlfriend have agreed us not using our phones unless it's an emergency. Yeah, put them away. Put them away. You're there with each other, and you're not taking the phone on a date. I mean, seriously. But yeah, he's got the number 6 is tattooed on the side of his neck. There was a couple other people working there with a tattoo, number 6 tattoo on the neck too. And I'm like, yeah, I wonder if those women, if they knew what that 6 meant, would still be giving him such a hard freaking time. Oh, you put ginger sauce on that steak? I don't like that shit. Oh my God, that made me so upset just listening to them whining. It ruined the experience. Best hibachi grill I've ever been to was the one in Topeka. When I was there, there's only one. Very traditional, very well done. And Brian would have liked to tell her off. Eat the broccoli. Yeah, just eat the broccoli. Pick it out yourself. Also, I've noticed a lot of people had hoods on. Well, never mind the fact that it's like 92 degrees outside. You're wearing a hoodie and the hood is on while you're staring at your phone waiting for your hibachi, and you never take it off. People wearing sunglasses inside, hats on. It used to be etiquette to remove a hat if you went to a restaurant or to church. And although I have noticed that, and perhaps it's some sort of generational defiance, people from that particular community tend to not take the hats off indoors. And I don't know what's up with that. Like I said, I could speculate that it's some sort of generational form of defiance. Same wearing saggy pants. Why are you wearing saggy pants? And if the thing is, if you ask them, they can't really tell you. Oh, well, no, I don't. Why don't you tell me why you wear your pants under your ass? Why don't you tell me why you won't take your hat off in church? Can you explain it? And they can't give you an answer. But it is a form of cultural defiance, same as like during the punk movement in the 70s and 80s with the big spiky hair and the mohawks and the leather jackets with the studs in them and everything. But if you asked them, they would tell you they knew why they were doing it. Because F society. H12 says phones used to sit on a desk in the library until it rang. And Nature Nerd says if you take your hat off, your hair gets messed up. Oh, is that what it is? Okay, let's keep my hat on then. BBC article. I wanted to get to this. Get ready for your dystopia, ladies and gentlemen, because we're about to step into Futurama here. We're about to step into Futurama. BBC article. You won't believe what this thing is. Several people arrested after the suicide pod is used for the first time. There we are. That image is a suicide pod. Okay? The problem here is it was used illegally, not the fact that this exists. You get in it, you push a button, you die. Just like the suicide booth on Futurama. Let's get into the article. Police in Switzerland made multiple arrests after someone reportedly ended their life using a so-called suicide pod, and apparently the first case of its kind. Police in the Schaffhausen region, I might have butchered that name, said they arrested several persons on suspicion of inciting and aiding and abetting suicide after someone died reportedly by using a Sarco pod on Monday. Sarco. While assisted dying is legally protected in some circumstances in Switzerland, the Sarco pod has encountered opposition. Officers recovered the device and the body at the scene. The company behind the controversial pod says it can be solely operated by the person seeking to end their own life without any medical supervision. Police said it was used Monday at a forest hut in the Meerschausen area, a sparsely populated part of Switzerland on the German border, according to police. The pod can be placed anywhere and floods the air with nitrogen, reducing oxygen levels quickly. The process causes the person inside to lose consciousness and die within 10 minutes. It is activated from the inside and has an emergency exit button. Police said they were tipped off by a law firm about a suicide involving the device. The number of people arrested and the identities were not disclosed. So it basically, this is the first time this has been used. Wow. Listen to this. The Sarco device, say it provides an option not reliant on drugs or doctors. It expands access to euthanasia, and the portable device can be 3D printed and assembled at home. So really, it's just because it wasn't authorized for use is why Switzerland has a problem. Flukeman says, in the past, we wondered what humanity's greatest downfall would be: nuclear war, alien invasion, giant asteroid. It seems like it's smartphones and social media. No kidding, because we're rotting from the inside out with this. Nature Nerd says, looks like a horror movie. S-Pods. Yeah. Monkey says the only thing missing is it being a phone booth and only costs 25 cents. I know, they should set it up and put like a locking mechanism, and you swipe your credit card through it, and it pops open and you can get in and kill yourself. And Sven says scumbags in Canada recommend suicide for depression. Much of their focus was on their veterans. What a massive pile of shite that the government is, and we are close behind. And Sven, as of right now, and that's the MAIDS program. The MAIDS program is what they call it. That's the acronym. I can't remember exactly what the acronym stands for off the top of my head. Assisted suicide through the MAIDS program now counts for just over 5% of all deaths in Canada. Rodney says Western society seems on a downward spiral. Suicide booths are a symptom. It's crazy. And JJ says the booths may be a symptom, but they could be a cure if we could convince politicians to use them. Oh, no. Why should they give anything up? They're living the good life. Can't touch them. Well, I can't say you can't touch them, because we sure have read a lot of articles recently about politicians that have been caught up and are going to jail. Dragon says this kind of tech walks a fine line between autonomy and authoritarianism when viewed in conjunction with government control. And DIY says, I think it's best to stay the course and see this life out no matter how hard it gets. Yeah, you should not end your own life. It's a very selfish thing to end your own life. Helter says personal freedoms will be compromised under the guise of providing relief, but instead these pods could serve to extend the government's control over life and death. And one more here from Country. Really sad when someone can't fund enough joy in life to keep going. It is, yeah. And again, it's incredibly selfish. I regard it as being incredibly selfish because you're burdening everyone else with your death. You kill yourself, and then who's gonna have to clean up the mess? Who's gonna suffer for it? Who's gonna sit there and wonder if there's anything they could have done? Your parents, your siblings, your children, your friends, whoever, anybody out there that may care about you in the least little bit. You know, plus there's the additional expenses involved that they're going to be saddled with. And Brian made a donation to the channel. Very much appreciated, Brian. Need all the help we can get. All the help we can get. Especially with our kitties. You know I bring that up every time. To further manifest this concept of dystopia that we're getting to, I'm going to play a video clip for you. I'm going to play it without the audio. So hopefully I won't get in trouble, because they love getting me in trouble. And Brian suggests that suicide is for cowards. And age 12, I'll read that one too. It says, I've survived too many people trying to kill me to do it for them. There you go. There you go. Here's another glimpse into your future dystopia here. Okay. What you're looking at now, that's a motel. Of course, difference between a motel and a hotel, for anyone who's not aware, the motel is with the doors on the outside. So here's dude in the motel. He's barricaded himself in the room and he won't come out. The police are trying to get him out, okay? I'll start the video. Apparently he's armed and he's in the window. The window's broken out. Now, on the right there, oh crap. Hold on a second. It stuck me with an ad. There it is. Now look on the right there, and you see the SWAT team with shields, okay? And they're up there with the shields because they don't want to get shot, because they heard that he is armed. They heard he's armed. But they have a solution. Watch this. You see that? That is a robot. It forces its way into the window with an extension arm that sprays all kinds of shit on the guy. You see the smoke coming out? He crawls out of the window because he can't breathe, and then the robot runs him over and sits on top of him. See? Now he's trapped under the thing. Nature Nerd says there was an old show called Dinosaurs that said you're in heaven forever, but you're on Earth a short time. Be there as long as you can. You may as well make the best of it and enjoy it. This is in Texas, by the way. And running on top of him, of course, bust him up pretty good. Here he is strapped to a gurney with all his clothes ripped off, being carried away in an ambulance. And Rodney made a donation to the channel. He says, here's a penny or two for the kiddies. Much appreciated, Rodney. Again, it really is appreciated. Need all the help we can get with the shelter cats that we're taking care of. 18 and counting. We got 2 adopted, and we're working on the kittens now. We're trying, because we got 6 kittens that need help. And Helter says AI stuff is getting more scary than helpful. Yeah, it is. So the robot busts into his hotel room, sprayed whatever aerosols on him that made him panic. He jumps out the window, and then it ran him over. It ran him over and busted him up, broke his bones. And again, this is Texas, and you can expect to see more robot deployments. The article alleges that he shot at the robot. If you're going to shoot something like that, you better know what you're doing. I recommend targeting hydraulics. Just saying, just for the sake of argument, and in case anybody ever was curious about that. And Country says, I'm sure someone is going to say it's inhumane to take out a criminal like that. Perhaps. Perhaps it is. It's not a matter of whether or not they use it against criminals. What matters is who else they might use it against and why. And why. And with that, that was also, I'll read this one more from DIY and then we'll sign off. It says, a few years ago, there was a cop killer and he was in a building, and instead of putting any officers at risk, they sent in a robot armed with explosives. Yeah, they put an explosive tip on his arm, and that was also in Texas, I believe. That was also in Texas. So with that, we'll go ahead and start signing off. Special thanks to Brian and to Rodney for making donations to the channel. Very much appreciated, of course. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion if you're listening somewhere else, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can also find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. And with that, we'll go ahead and sign off. Thank you, everybody who was able to join us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation.